Okay, today we're going to be building an aquaponics mock-up in order to teach aquaponics to a 7th and 8th grade science class. And as part of the process, I'm going to be teaching you how to build the siphon valve that I posted before, made from recycled parts like water bottles and just cheap PVC. Okay, real quick, I'm going to go over the supplies that you're going to need to start. First off, we have a vitamin water bottle. I prefer these because of the top right here. It forms kind of looks kind of like a toilet bowl once you cut it off, and that helps. You get kind of like the toilet bowl swirl effect. It helps with the siphoning process. This is a Hawaiian water bottle, but the key is that it just needs to be small enough so that it fits inside a 4-inch PVC pipe, and will slide over the bottle here, so it'll lift up easily. Okay, otherwise pretty much any bottle will work. We have a piece of 1-inch PVC, another piece of 1/2-inch PVC, a 1-inch coupling, costs you between 30 and 50 cents at Home Depot, a 1-inch to 1/2-inch reducer, an O-ring, and another 1/2-inch coupling here. Let's go over some of the tools that you're going to need, which aren't very many. I like this miter saw here for cutting the PVC and for cutting the water bottles, but you can use a coping saw, you can use a hacksaw, you can pretty much use anything that'll cut. Got a razor knife here, blowtorch or heat gun. Heat gun is probably better, but I don't have one, so I just use a blowtorch. And I like to have a pair of channel locks on hand just in case something gets stuck. For this project, I'm going to be using a piece of a part that I scavenged from my system that's actually not in operation right now. Basically, it's just a piece of 4-inch pipe with some needlepoint backing that you can buy at Ace Hardware. Costs you about $1.50, and some stick ties. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to carefully cut the top of this water bottle off here. Okay, so then you have this right here, and you might want to take a piece of sandpaper here just to get the little plastic chips off, because you really don't want plastic going into your system. That's not great for the fish. And then another thing I should mention is that if you like vitamin water, I recommend you buy a case of it the first time you do this, because it can take a few tries before you get a nice, even, smooth edge like this here. Okay, so this next part is the tricky part. And you want to make sure that you do this outside where there's plenty of ventilation. Okay, so this is where you can use a heat gun or a blowtorch. Heat gun is definitely preferable because the temperature is a little bit cooler. What we're going to do is we're going to take the blowtorch here and heat up the end of this pipe. Like so. Trying not to burn it. It's kind of inevitable, actually. And you can see that the end of the pipe itself will begin to sweat a little bit. Once we get it heated up, it starts to melt. I'm going to take it like this. In there just like so. Okay, let it cool a little bit. Turn it off. And twist it on. Like that. keeping it flush with the inside of the lip. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so the next thing we have is our 5-gallon food grade bucket that I glued the top on with epoxy, and then I sealed it with a silicone sealant, adhesive sealant. And as you can see, I've got it all marked out here. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half, and this is going to be our grow bed. Okay, so now you can use any saw. You can even use the miter saw or the hack saw or the coping saw to cut the bucket in half. Jigsaw will work, or Sawzall. I'm going to use a skill saw simply because that's just the tool that I'm most familiar and comfortable with. Okay, now that we got our bucket cut, the next thing is to install the siphon valves. First thing we need to do is drill a hole in each one of these buckets here. And so you can use a 1-inch hole saw or a 1-inch carpenter's bit, wood bit. I prefer the wood bit simply because it just gives me a little bit more control with the plastic, which tends to grab and spin out. Okay, so just set it, make sure it's pretty level, and when they're done, it should look like that. So next we're going to take our 1-inch to 1/2-inch reducer and our O-ring and stretch this puppy over this like so. So it's seated on the edge there. This is going to help give us a seal. Okay, next comes a really tricky part. What we're going to do is we're going to take the blowtorch and we're going to melt the edges of this hole like so. And then once we get it melted, we're going to take our 1/2-inch reducer and poke it in. And that's what it looks like when you're done. And so that will form. This is what the siphon valve will connect to right here like that. Okay, so normally I don't like to use glue, even though it's perfectly safe. This is what the same type of PVC glue that's used in your water pipes, which is as a matter of principle I usually try to avoid it. But in this case, because we're working with smaller parts and everything's kind of scaled down, I'm going to use just a little bit here just to put our 1-inch coupling on there like so. Okay, now for the final part here. A couple things you want to really keep in mind when you're setting the level of the siphon valve here. Now, when it's in full operation, you're going to want to make sure that your gravel is below the top edge of the grow bed here, so that when the tank floods, it doesn't overflow. So to do that, just take our level here like this, and just kind of estimate, really. And I think I want it to be, doesn't give us much to work with. Keep in mind this is a full-size siphon valve for a 55-gallon tank system, and it's the same thing that I've got in my big system that you've seen. And so it's going to be interesting to see if it makes a difference. Alright, so what we'll do is just cut it. Okay, once again, let's take some sandpaper here. Get rid of the plastic junk. Okay, so I ran into a glitch, and the full-size siphon valve, using the water bottle like this, it's just plain too big. So what I had to do is adapt it, and what I did is I just trimmed the edge here like this. And so we're going to find out if this is going to work or not. Hopefully it will, but the principle is the same. If you're going to build a bigger system, then 55-gallon drums, or using the 275-gallon IBC tote containers, this one will work here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. Okay, so we've got them both in place with our new design, and a couple inches below the top and right below the level where our gravel will be. And so I think that should work out pretty well. Okay, so what we're going to do now that we've got our siphon valve in place, we're going to put the second part of it in. So what you're going to do is you take your water bottle here now. So what we're going to have to do is cut it down a little bit. And what you want is just about maybe an inch or so of space above the top lip of the siphon valve when you set it on here like this. So I'm going to cut it down and just estimate about an inch. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to make my mark. Let's take a rubber band. And all I'm going to do is just kind of straighten it out. And we'll just draw a line. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. And take a pair of scissors here. And that's probably pretty good. I might actually have a little bit too much space here, but too much is better than less because you can always trim it off. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to create little inlets, just little half circles, about 4 of them. Half circles or half squares. This just helps the air and the water get started flowing. These things start rolling. And so what happens is we're going to take this old one here and split this in half. But basically as the water comes up, it lifts this up, and the air that's trapped inside creates a suction. And you'll see that we're going to put a 1/2 inch piece of pipe down here, and this will be what drops down into the tank. And that provides aeration for the fish, and the reduction in diameter also helps create more suction, so you get a better flow, better siphoning. Okay, so then we've got these sit on here like so. We got our pieces cut, filter, just keeps out the gravel and the junk from clogging up the siphon valve. And that sits on there like that. So we'll take this to the school and see how it works.